What's up, everybody, and welcome to Essentials Podcast with Stevie and Whitney Flockhart.
Hey, everybody.
Hope you're good. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I've never been better in my whole life.
Awesome.
You look great.
Thank you.
I saw you this morning, but you did not have that beanie on this morning.
Well, I stepped outside and it was still 40 degrees here, so.
It's getting chilly. And so, hey, wherever you are listening to this, whether it is chilly and you need a beanie or it's sunny and you need a bikini.
Yeah.
So wherever you are, we're glad that you're joining us today.
Yeah.
We do want to talk about something that's extremely important that we're right in the thick of right now.
Yes, we're very passionate about it.
Yep. And so hopefully you've checked out the other episodes, and it releases every other Monday. So please stay tuned. Make sure that your notifications are on. You're seeing when it's dropping. So make sure you join us. But today, we're talking about the 4 stages of parenting.
Yes, 4
What
stages.
I don't want to happen is for anybody out there that does not have kids, they're single, maybe you're not even married yet.
Don't turn this off.
No, you can't. Matter of fact, this is almost a cheat sheet for you.
Yeah,
you know, you
absolutely.
can get ahead of the game. You can take more mental notes and real
Actual notes.
Yeah, than not while you're driving, but than anybody. And so do not tune out today, but it is an important thing. So the 4 stages of parenting.
Yes, raising our kids is our biggest responsibility, but also our greatest opportunity.
Yeah.
Where we get in our parenting journey does not happen by accident. Every decision we make, we don't get to where we're going by accident. We want to get there on purpose.
Yeah, you don't get there on accident. Planning for these stages is the key.
Yes.
Disciplining. Listen, we don't naturally drift in good directions. We don't, not as human beings. We have to prioritize and discipline ourselves to get there.
And communicate with each other.
Yeah. And so parenting is, and we've already got something we've been talking about, about your actual, we almost named this podcast, or we talked about building your house or how to build your house or whatever, but raising kids, parenting is like building a house, So first you've got the foundation. If you've driven by any construction lately or ever in your life, which, praise God, there's a lot of construction going up around where we are right now, but you'll see the foundation being laid.
Right.
Then eventually you'll see next the walls that are built up. Then the roof comes, and then you move in, you paint, you bring in furniture.
It's a process.
Now, I know this sounds silly, but if you did any of those things out of order, that would look like a really terrible house. It would be a really weird. Imagine
unstable.
The roof going up first, and you got like a little teepee type thing, and the foundation, little.
It just wouldn't operate the way it's supposed to.
So eventually, it would fall. It would not be stable. It would not have a firm foundation. The same is true with the 4 stages of parenting. If you do it out of order, if you neglect one, if you ignore one, I don't think your house is built correctly, or it's not very stable. And so the foundation is shaky.
But before we get in, I want to say there's lots of grace offered here too. So you might hear these 4 stages and be like, well, shoot, I didn't spend time here. I didn't spend time there. I didn't do that right. You can always go back and redirect and correct what you've already done. So it's never too late. Parents, no matter what stage you're in, this is going to be good.
Yep, that's so good. And so at any point today, we might even say it a few more times, if you, I failed in that area. I didn't do that too well. What Whitney just said, start today.
Yeah.
Make it happen today. And so you want to start with the first stage here?
Yeah, let's go. The first stage is it's called the discipline years.
Ooh.
The discipline years, that is ages 0 to about 5. Now, give or take, depending on your child, every child has different needs, different things, but around the age of 5. So from the time they're born to the time they're about 5 years old. This stage is primarily about creating boundaries, teaching your kids what's right and what's wrong. Their world is black and white. So yes, you can do this. No, you can't do that. At this stage, there's not really reasoning involved because kids,
they don't understand
They don't understand that.
Right.
So don't negotiate with your 0 to 5 year old. Okay, it's this is the right way to do things. This is the wrong, and if you get it wrong, there's consequences.
There is, and talk about consequences. There's consequences for their actions. You know, their wrong decisions. Again, they are a sponge right now. We worked through these 4 stages of parenting, probably 10 or 11 years ago now. some great mentors of ours, Mac and Cindy Lake, told us about it, said you got to read up on this, you got to do it, you'll thank us later. A few years ago, shout out to Mark and Jackie McCall.
Mark and Jackie McCall.
Who have done so great at this. They do one of our parenting classes here at church, and they talk through a lot of this. So we're gathering information from all these different places, but this is an area that you cannot skip.
Yes.
This is an area that you must pay attention to. In 1 Samuel 2, I believe it is, there's a priest by the name of Eli, and God truly tells and literally tells him and his son Samuel, and I won't give you the whole backstory, but God calls Samuel and tells him what he wants to do, and he tells him that your father Eli has not disciplined his sons, and now his sons are doing whatever they want, living how they want to live, and God is not happy about this. Matter of fact, the Word of God says that God destroys their whole family because of this.
Yikes.
Now, thank God for the grace of God and for Jesus coming. We have the second chance and grace, but there are consequences for our wrong decisions. There are consequences and listen, parents, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's difficult.
No, all the time.
All the time it's hard.
Parenting is hard.
Every time. Yes.
With this stage, I believe that consistency, though, is the key. You've got to do this. You got to discipline every time. You can't let things go unnoticed or decide that just sweep things under the rug. Everything's got to be consistent.
Yep. Consistency, you talked about a minute ago, consequences, consistency. Proverbs 13:24, one of the most famous scriptures ever. For the good, bad, and ugly of people's opinions, spare the rod, spoil the child. Some versions say if you spare the rod, you hate your son or your daughter if you do not discipline them.
That's heavy scripture,
honestly.
Is.
So the rod, its primary use, so if we're going back to a shepherd, and it's sheep, the primary use for this rod, for this staff, is to lead, to guide, to direct, to say, no, we're going to go this way, we're going to do this. Hey, stay with the pack, don't wander. But when a sheep wanders, and a sheep wanders consistently, and a sheep wants to do its own thing, the shepherd, this is true, man, the shepherd would take the rod and break the sheep's leg.
Discipline.
There was discipline. And listen, it's not because the shepherd hated the sheep. It's not because he wanted to harm the sheep. And again, we're talking about controlled, loving discipline, of course.
Discipline is always done in love, not anger.
Should be without saying, but we need to say that. And and then that shepherd would pick up the sheep and put it on its shoulders and carry it, and nurture it. And so sometimes you have to say, no, what you're doing is hurting you. What you're doing is wrong. And so discipline must take place. The next phase, the next stage, is the training stage. This is where, and that's from 5 to 12. Now, some of this, as Whitney said, has to kind of transfer over. It might take just a year or two in or there. But the point is you're moving into another stage. And so in this stage, your child is getting ready to go out into the world more consistently.
Yes.
That's when school's starting. That's when, they're joining teams. That's when maybe they're hanging out, and going over to a friend's house, whatever it is, playing, and they're actually leaving the house more and more and more. Listen, in this stage, you're helping them learn how to love God and to love others. Jesus says the greatest commandment is to love God and to love others. You are training them in ways so that they can do that. In this stage, don't shelter them. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, in this stage, you can start explaining to them why certain things have, why you're reaping some of these consequences. So you can explain to them that here is why you don't do this. Here's why you do this, because they understand. They're mature enough to understand the reasoning behind it. So I wanted to put that in there. It's not just, no, because I said so. That was the last stage. The last stage is no, because I said so. This stage is, here is why that is not beneficial for you.
Sure. So absolutely discipline would still be involved in this stage, but this stage, and it's always about the heart, but this stage is so much about the heart, you know? So sure, they're still disciplined, but when Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your heart. Love, this is the stage where that's your primary purpose, to show them. Listen, you've got to let them know that consequences are involved in this stage. So when you're training, what you cannot do, parent, is if your child doesn't study properly for a test and gets a bad grade on that test, you cannot intervene and go to the parent or go to the teacher and complain. It's like that's hurting them so much more than it's helping them.
That's a natural consequence for their own actions that they are aware of now at this stage.
Yep. And that they need to experience. Listen,
absolutely.
Small stuff, guys. And listen, this podcast, sure, we talk about what we're going to talk about, but it's not some scripted podcast. I mean, we want it to be real and raw. And so when your kid is supposed to remember their book bag for school, and they go to school, such a small practical example, but I hope you hear this, and they forgot it. And sure, we can give some great, but I'm talking about now they forgot it for the second or third time. And every single time they call mommy on the phone, I forgot my backpack again.
Right.
I don't think you should bring them the backpack.
Right.
I think they should experience the consequence of, I don't have my pencil today. And it's such a small thing, but in this stage, you're teaching, like, they've got to experience consequence. I think I said a minute ago, and I didn't get to elaborate, where you can't shelter your kids,
right?
You can't drop them off at daycare or the nursery or kindergarten, and they whine and cry, and then you bail them out. They need to experience some of those hard things. They need to go through, because you're training them, listen, not to stay a child. Right. You're training and leading and guiding them to grow.
That's right.
To flourish.
This is a good stage to... another practical thing would be get them an alarm clock, help them set their alarm time, let the alarm clock wake them up. That gives them a responsibility of getting up. You can even have them lay out their clothes the night before and say, all right, meet me downstairs at 7:00 for breakfast. So that way they're up by themselves. They're getting dressed themselves. This is a great time to do that. We started doing that a couple years ago. All three of our kids are in this stage, actually. We've got one almost to the next one.
Yeah, but they get up on their own. This is not far-fetched. We do not have the most perfect kids in the world. They're great, but these are disciplines that we put in place, and these are things that we began to say, you're going to do this. And if you don't,
you're going to reap the consequences.
Yeah, you're not going to get to shower. You're not going to eat breakfast. You're going to have stinky breath. This is real stuff that we've had to do before.
And sometimes
our kids
they have gone to school where they're forgetting stuff. Their teeth aren't brushed. Their hair's not done because they didn't set their alarm clock or, whatever. A very important thing for this stage, maybe even the most important thing in this stage, is to create an environment where you and your kids can have conversations. And I would say even on a daily basis. We encourage young families often to have a sit-down dinner with your entire family as often as you can.
Try every night.
Try every night. We know that that's not necessarily able to happen all the time, but sit down with your family, talk about your days, maybe start with the highs and the lows, but ask your kids specific questions about their day. Ask them about their friends. Ask them about the subjects that they find boring at school. Ask them what they love. Ask them about their teachers, their friends, just anything to get them talking, really. That's the most important thing, because
you're creating a conversational environment.
Right. And when they get older, it won't be this weird forced conversation. They've been doing it for years at this point. That's why that's important. On to our third stage, the coaching years. This is roughly ages about 12 or 13 to 18. And by this time, they should know what's expected of them. By this time, they're pretty much doing everything on their own. You're more of just on the sidelines, encouraging them, clapping for them, letting them experience the failures that they're experiencing, but also rejoicing with them in the successes and the victories that they're having.
Yeah, I'd say in this stage, you are empowering your kid to live out the values, what's important, the priorities that you've established in your home. So let me say again, if you've got a 13-year-old or a 16-year-old and you've not done this very well,
right,
or you didn't discipline very well, and you were your 10-year-old's best friend or whatever, like, it's never too late to start.
Right.
I would encourage you, and I would encourage you to sit down with your kid and say, I'm sorry.
I was about to say, it's never too late to say sorry.
I
Thank
messed
you, Justin
up
Bieber.
in this area. This is what I should have done. And things are going to change. And I do believe some rewiring can truly start. Some reprogramming can start. And it doesn't happen overnight, but this is the time that you do that. So maybe you haven't had great family values and maybe your priorities have been out of whack. This is the time to say, what we've done and how we've done it hasn't been the best.
Right.
But here's what we're going to start doing today. And so at this stage, your kids are spending more and more time outside of the home. This is sad too. Matter of fact, I would say perhaps in this stage, they're spending more time outside of the home than they are in the home.
You're no longer their primary influence in life, is basically what we're saying.
Yeah, and so at this stage, I think you need to pray for, I think you need to hope for, I think you need to strategically ask people to be mentors in their lives.
Yeah.
This is why church is important.
Yes.
This is why getting them involved, with people who are doing it the right way, just like a few years older than them and a few years younger than you.
Somebody they look up to, they think's cool.
A student pastor, a coach, a college age student that makes good choices, that have been raised the right way. This is where they're able to it's almost like you're asking like a subcontractor to come in. You're the contractor building the house. You need a subcontractor to come in and do some work too to help your kid.
Now, I don't know this to be true, but from what I can see of friends of ours who have gone through this stage or in this stage, I think kids don't necessarily think their parents are cool anymore. Thankfully, we're still in that stage where our kids think we're cool.
I think my kids always think I'm so cool.
I think you're
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
And they think you're cool right now.
No, like forever. Like I'm never going to be that guy.
All right, well then forget everything I just said. But what I was about to say was that there will come a time where they just think, they're old school, they don't understand. So, like you said, having a mentor just to push,
Yep. It's going to be sad
saying.
when
I know
they don't think we're cool.
It gives me butterflies to think about this season.
Yeah,
but we're
I'm just going to keep lying
so
to
close.
myself, though.
We could just
every night I'm gonna go to bed and go, my kids think I'm cool. My kids think I'm cool. My kids. Think
something
I'm cool.
I am excited for.
Did you tear up just now?
Yeah, I'm tearing up right now.
Wow.
I tear up pretty easy though.
I know.
Something important about this stage is this stage you're developing deeper connections with your kids. So that is something I'm excited for.
Right.
By this time they're independent in their thoughts and their values, but now you get to dive deeper into a relationship with them. So that's something I'm excited about. Yeah,
that's good. And again, think about the word empowering. You are empowering them with responsibility. You're empowering them with trust. And I believe you should do this always, from zero, but you're empowering them to fail, Every time they fall, you're not running and scooping them up, Every time that they get sat on the bench with the coach, you're not yelling at the coach.
Right.
Every time that they're
that's good.
making a decision, at 16 years old with their keys and now their car, which I know is a scary, scary thing. You're letting them make some decisions on their own, and you're trusting them. And so I know this is hard stuff, but it's necessary. There's just so much stuff we can talk about.
Much stuff.
Matter of fact, here's what we're going to do. Because we didn't even say so much of what we wanted to.
I agree.
We're going to make this a second episode. This is going to be a 2-part episode, 4 stages of parenting. So stay tuned. We didn't even scratch the surface.
Good
and we're not even
decision.
going to scratch the surface in the next one, but there's just so much good stuff. So for the final stage of parenting, and it's the stage that I'm in right now because I obviously have a mom and dad.
And me as well.
Yes, it's the friendship stage.
Yes.
This is the 18 years old and beyond,
Yes.
And again, it can go into 17 or 18, 19, but like that stage where they're leaving the home. You might say, well, hold on. I have a 27-year-old that lives at my house. What stage am I in? You just messed up the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a dysfunction in itself, which we'll talk about next time. We truly, truly will. And so, because that should not happen. But this final stage is the friendship stage.
Yes.
This is the stage in which you release your child. You release your child. Sure, they'll still ask questions. Sure, they'll still need guidance, but this is the stage where you're truly just standing on the sidelines cheering them on.
Yes, if you've done the other 3 stages to the best of your ability, I think this stage can be the most rewarding.
Yes. And so this is not the stage, parent, where you speak in and give your opinion about everything. If you want to know why there's conflict, so this could be a reason. If you're 22-year-old or you're 28-year-old or God forbid, you're 40-year-old, kind of shuts down every time you want to talk to them. It might just be because every time you talk to them, they're still giving opinions and what they should do and how they should do it, you know? So this is not that. Now let them come to you and ask for advice. It needs to happen. You know what I mean? But you are just waiting at this stage, your friendship.
Right. But I think about that phrase, unwanted advice is criticism.
Yeah.
And that's huge for, the quote kids in this stage. If they don't come to you and asking for advice, this is the time you just hold your tongue. Yeah. They're not asking for your opinion on anything. But this stage, you get to watch the hard work you've put in for the last 18 years. I'm actually excited about this stage with our kids. I kind of want to skip the one before this because that scares me, being parents of teenagers. Yeah, but as far as this stage, I'm so excited to be in that friendship stage. And I have a great friendship stage with my parents, too.
Yeah.
They're always ready to offer wisdom and counsel when I ask for it, but they don't give it when I don't ask for it. And it's just a good stage.
Yeah, that's good. So remember, when this is out of order, it falls apart. When this is so you cannot be the 10-year-old's best friend.
Yes.
You can't even be your 16-year-old's best friend, And
God forbid your 5-year-old's best friend.
Yes,
okay?
yes. And so, I don't want to be hard on them. I don't want them to like me. I don't want them to dislike. That's lazy parenting.
And they will love you.
Yes, they will, because they want to be nurtured. They want to be led. They want to be guided. Kids love boundaries.
Kids even love discipline. They do. They might not be able to articulate that, but they thrive when they have structure.
Sure. And so while you can't be your 10-year-old's best friend, eventually you do want to move into the friendship stage with your parent.
Goal.
Yep. So we hope this helped you today. The 4 stages of parenting. Remember, we are doing an episode 2, an additional episode, because there was just too much
I can't wait
to cover.
For that. It's gonna be awesome.
As always, do not forget to rate, to review, and to share. Subscribe to this page. And we'll see you guys next time on part 2 of the 4 stages of parenting.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys later.
See ya.